All right, picture this. You're walking into like a super important meeting,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Got to make a good impression. You're feeling good. You got this. And then you
The,
feel it. The sweat starts coming.
the dreaded sweat, right?
It's the worst timing ever.
Yeah.
Why does our body do this to us?
Well, you know, it's funny. We, as humans, I think we tend to really overthink sweat and get kind of self-conscious about it.
Right, for sure.
But when in reality, it's actually like this incredibly brilliant evolutionary adaptation.
So maybe not so much betrayal as misunderstood biological function, you think?
Exactly.
Well, today we're going a deep dive into the science of sweat.
I love it.
We're going to be unpacking everything from what causes it to, what's normal, and when should we actually be concerned when that little bead of perspiration
Right.
might be a sign to check in with your doctor.
Perfect. Yeah. It's all about understanding what your body's telling you. Right.
For sure.
So let's start with just the very fundamentals. Sweating is your body's primary way
Primary way.
of regulating its internal temperature.
Okay, so it's like our internal AC unit,
Exactly. Think of it like that.
keeping us from
It's
overheating.
keeping you from overheating, yeah.
Got it. So that makes sense for, when it's hot out.
Right.
When I'm working out, I'm like dripping sweat. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But what about those other times?
Right.
Like when I'm stressed out, why am I sweating? It's not like my brain is literally on fire.
Well, not literally, no.
Okay.
But your body reacts very similarly to various forms of stress.
Okay.
So physical exertion, emotional tension, even a challenging mental task, all those things can kind of trigger that same
Gotcha.
response.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It is, yeah.
Interesting. So my body's basically going into like emergency mode.
Yeah, you could say that.
And sweating is part of the cool down system.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So then how much sweating is too much sweating?
Right, well, that's a great question.
Because I read in the research for this, there's this condition called hyperhidrosis.
Yes, hyperhidrosis. And that's essentially when your sweat glands go into overdrive.
Overdrive.
Producing way more sweat than is really necessary for temperature regulation.
Interesting.
And this can be due to like an overactivity in what's called the sympathetic nervous system,
Okay.
which controls a lot of your like automatic bodily functions, including sweating.
Makes sense.
So we're talking about people who experience, constantly sweaty palm
Oh, I know some people like that.
or damp feet,
Yeah.
even when they're completely calm and relaxed.
Wow, that sounds really challenging.
It can be.
Yeah.
But thankfully, there are a lot of very effective treatments for hyperhidrosis,
Oh, good.
ranging from, topical medications to more advanced procedures.
Oh,
So if
gee.
this is something you're struggling with, definitely don't hesitate to seek medical advice.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
And then what about those other medical causes of sweating?
Right. So there are a few
We
conditions
were reading about some, yeah.
that can kind of lead to increased sweating.
Okay.
So for instance, hyperthyroidism, which is like an overactive thyroid gland,
Right.
can really rev up your metabolism.
Okay.
And that can lead to excessive sweating.
Ah, interesting.
And then conversely, low blood sugar,
Which is also known as
hypoglycemia.
hypoglycemia.
You got it.
I was trying to remember that one, yeah.
That can trigger sweating as kind of like a part of the body's stress response.
So it seems like sweating is, our body uses it as like a signal that something might be off balance.
It's like a check engine light.
Yeah, like a check engine light, exactly.
Sometimes.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And speaking of signals, I was really intrigued by what we read about night sweats.
Ah, yes, night sweat. So
Waking up just drenched.
waking up drenched in sweat, even if it's a cool room,
Yeah.
that can definitely be a sign of an underlying infection.
Okay.
So if it's happening regularly, definitely worth a trip to the doctor. Just to rule out anything serious.
So rule out anything serious, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, we can't forget about, those hormonal fluctuations.
Of course.
I remember reading about how menopause can be a really big trigger for sweating.
Absolutely. So during menopause, fluctuating hormone levels, particularly estrogen,
Okay.
can lead to hot flashes
Yeah.
and night sweats, and these can be really intense, quite disruptive. But there are ways to manage those symptoms effectively.
Okay.
So it's definitely important for women experiencing this to consult with their healthcare provider.
Absolutely good advice.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how many different factors play into how much we sweat.
Right.
Speaking of which, even everyday things like our diet can have an impact.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like I know I turn into a sweaty mess whenever I eat spicy food.
Oh, the joys of spicy food.
I love it, but oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, you see, capsaicin, the chemical that gives chili peppers their heat,
Okay.
it actually binds to the same receptors in your nerves that detect heat from external sources.
Seriously?
So your body's basically reacting as if it's actually experiencing an increase in temperature,
That is so interesting.
even though it's really just the chili peppers doing their thing.
I'm basically tricking my body into thinking it's on fire.
In a way, yeah.
Oh my God.
You're like, oh, it's hot in here. No, it's just the peppers.
That is so crazy.
It is. And aside from spicy food, caffeine and alcohol can also temporarily increase your sweat production.
Oh, right. Those
Oh.
are good ones to remember.
Mm.
And let's not forget about medications.
Oh, of course. Yes.
I remember reading that some medications, like certain antidepressants or
Yeah.
blood pressure meds,
Mm-hmm.
can list sweating as a side effect.
That's true. Always a good idea to check those labels carefully. And,
Yeah.
if you're concerned about anything, consult your doctor.
Consult your doctor. Good advice.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like, most sweating is totally normal.
It is.
And it's just our bodies, I don't know, it's like this really clever way of keeping us cool.
It is. It's a very clever way.
And functioning.
And functioning, exactly.
Okay, I'm feeling a lot better about my sweat now.
Good, you should.
But before we wrap up, I can't help but wonder, could our modern lifestyle actually be contributing to us sweating more?
Oh, that's interesting.
We spend so much time in climate-controlled environments,
Yeah.
and, a lot of us aren't as physically active as we could be.
That's a really thought-provoking question.
Right.
It's certainly plausible that our bodies, they were really designed for these more natural temperature fluctuations
All right.
and more physical activity.
Makes sense.
And now we're in this temperature-controlled, often very sedentary world.
Yeah, we are.
So perhaps our bodies are kind of,
Overcompensating.
trying to work harder
Yeah.
to maintain that sort of ideal internal temperature.
Wow. So maybe that's why we're sweating more.
Potentially, yeah.
I never thought of it that way.
It's an interesting thought.
It is. So what can we do about it?
Well, it might be as simple as just incorporating more movement into your daily routine.
Okay.
Even if it's just, taking the stairs instead of the elevator.
Right.
Or going for a walk during your lunch break.
I like that.
And don't be afraid to kind of embrace the heat a little.
What do you mean by that?
Well, maybe try turning the AC down a degree or two.
Oh, interesting.
See how you feel.
Okay.
Your body might surprise you
Yeah, you're right.
with its resilience.
I think we often try to fight against our body's natural processes instead of working with them.
I think that's a great point.
Right.
Yeah.
It's all about working with our bodies.
Exactly. Pay attention to your own sweating pattern.
Okay.
What triggers them? When do you feel most comfortable?
Those are good things to think about.
Your body is constantly communicating with you.
It really is.
The key is learning to listen to its messages.
That's such a great point to end on. Thank you so much for all this info. This has been super helpful. I feel like I understand my sweat so much better now.
Awesome. Glad to hear it.
And listeners, stay tuned for our next deep dive.
Yeah. See you next time.
We'll be tackling a whole new topic.
Can't wait.
Until then, stay curious.
Stay curious.
And keep on sweating.
Keep on sweating. It's good for you.
It is. It's good for us.
All right. Take care. Bye.